Hello there. We're here to tell you that we have so much more to offer you now at our Mixed Tees store. Not just t-shirts and hoodies, but we do have plenty of those, and new designs for that matter. You can also get mugs, and of course our brand new limited Amber Turds stained blanket. That's right, just for your bed or wherever you need it. So head on over to Mixed Tees now and get all your apparel and goodies from Midnight's Edge.
Entertainment news today. You're such a dragon gay. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We'll stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark. But MEAD never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark, your favorite show on YouTube, whether you like it or not. We got Price of Reason here. How you doing, Price?
Good. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going. I don't know where everybody else is, but hopefully you're doing well, and hopefully everybody out there is doing well. We've got some regulars joining us already. I suppose I should probably share out the stream and let everybody know that we are live. That might help a little bit. But good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is, where you is. Thank you for joining us here. I want to thank you as usual. We got some super chats here. I'm going to start off with, we got FKHC 2005 sending in some love for clobbering times. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. We also have him saying, get on with it. I know. Well, we were waiting for peoples, and Price showed up, and we're still waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally here we are. So good afternoon. Hopefully you're having a good one. And then we got Goddess of Women in the house, and she goes, I kissed the ground and I liked it, but did you get consent? Wow, Katie, just wow. Yeah, we're gonna chit chat a little bit about that. And then we got FKHC 2005 sending in another $2. Says, women in space, it's been done before. Yeah, it has indeed. So yeah, and I don't know what Price is typing over there, but
Oh, you can hear me typing?
yeah, click, click, type.
I'm sending more ladies to the moon.
Oh, well. Don't let me stop you.
Katy Perry. You know what's interesting about Katy Perry? There was a time that she decided that she wanted to try to look like a little boy. I don't know if you remember this. She
sort of
cut her hair very short. She had the little boy haircut. She made it some weird color, like a platinum little boy, kind of like Dennis the Menace. That was the look she was going for. And suddenly I think that her popularity dropped, and like she tried to release music and nobody bought it. Not that her music was good to begin with, but everything kind of just fell off for her. And then much like Hollywood studios, at least some of them, she had to grow her hair back. It suddenly looked black. There was no more little boy look. Do you get what I'm saying?
Kind of. I vaguely remember it, but not really.
I guess it was for a few years she was trying this little boy look and it didn't work, and I feel like she reverted back to the look that made her look more womany.
I guess. Yeah. I mean,
Eh,
I guess I remember the short hair for a bit there.
yeah. So in any case, I don't know, if people like her or not, and it's not like I listen to her music. But the only thing I can say is that at least she has long black hair and she dropped the little boy look. That's the only positive thing I can say here.
Yeah. Well, the big talk of the week has been, women in space, or as we've been joking around here, bitches in space. Because, yeah, like, this has just been weird. And, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, we got some, I guess, got somebody sending me pictures here of what you were talking about. There you go. She looks crazy there. I don't know.
Oh.
But anyhow, so yeah, I'm still curious where the hell everybody else is. Why we're here by ourselves talking about space, and your keyboard's so loud.
I'm doing very important stuff on the keyboard.
All right. Well, as you see here, several women, rich, privileged women, for the most part, took a trip in a cock to space for a few minutes, got off and came down. So what has been the reaction? The reaction has not been that great, really. In fact, we actually have some women reacting to this, including Olivia Munn, who you may be familiar with.
Yeah, she's all right.
So she was on Today, I think it was. She had this to say about the whole women in space business.
Yeah, I don't. And I have a little bit of a
issue isn't the right word. You're just perplexed.
I just was like, what do you guys need to? And if you, by the way, if you want to go to space, why do you need to tell us about it?
Yeah.
And it's like, just go up there, have a good time, come on down. Also, I just think about, I know this is probably obnoxious, but like it's so much money to go to space.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's a lot of people who can't even afford eggs.
Yeah, I mean, Olivia might be legit retarded, but at the same time, she's not wrong. Like,
No,
this
she's
didn't
not
really
wrong.
do anything. Like, I thought, if anything, the Shatner going to space was a bigger deal and a better use of the publicity. And then if you see the video of it, like, Bezos treats him like he's just barely there. Like, it's such a waste. It's like, do you realize you just sent Captain Kirk to space and you're treating him like shit?
I feel like with William Shatner, there's kind of a symbolic thing with that.
Well,
and
yeah,
it's
because he's
sentimental.
Captain Kirk, right?
He's Captain Kirk. He's also not 20 years old. It's kind of nice to see that whole thing play out. I think
Yeah.
people were kind of rooting for him. But yeah, Katy Perry, I don't think anybody was sitting around and thinking, wow, we really want Katy Perry to go to space. But again, I personally have never been a big fan. I don't hate her or anything.
Oh, we lost Price. Hopefully he'll be back. Maybe Katy Perry got him. I don't know. Katy Perry's pretty powerful. But in the meantime, yeah, I thought this was kind of in bad taste, considering we had a female astronaut stuck in space for about 9 months, and they wouldn't let Elon Musk save her. So yeah, that's also kind of a bad look at this moment in time. But here I am by myself talking to myself. So I apologize for anybody who tuned in not to see me. And I need to shave. So yeah. So other than that, oh, here he's back. Hey, thought I lost you.
Cut off. I don't know. I suddenly disappeared.
Katie got you.
Yeah, so I was saying that in the video California Girls, she looks nice. That's probably the most positive thing I can say about Katy Perry. And I really didn't need to see her go to space or kiss the ground or any of those weird things. It just feels kind of dumb. And yeah, I don't know about Olivia Munn. I don't know if she's smart or not. I mean, she looks decent. I feel like I sound really shallow today.
Well, I mean, it's not like I'm like, okay, cool, you went to space. Good for you. My problem is the way the media is spinning this. And like when you were away, I brought up the fact that, we had that one female astronaut just sitting in space for 9 months when Elon was wanting to save her. They wouldn't let him. Right.
Right.
And we also had another Emily Ratajkowski. I don't really know of her work all that well, but I guess she's a model actress. She also had a few things to say about this. But again, not that I'm like pretending to know who the fuck she is or anything.
She was in Blurred Lines, and then she said that there were men that acted inappropriately towards her, and she did a lot of modeling and naked modeling. I don't know why I know all of this, but let's see what she says.
Space mission this morning. That's end time shit. Like, this is beyond parody. Saying that you care about Mother Earth and it's about Mother Earth and you're going up in a spaceship that is built and paid for by a company that's single-handedly destroying the planet. Look at the state of the world and think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? What was the marketing there? And then to try to make it like, I'm disgusted. Literally, I'm disgusted.
When you got people like that saying this shit.
Right. I mean, it's not that
she's not wrong, because like they were sitting out there like, we're changing the world. Women are going to want to be in space now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I find myself in a strange situation that I kind of agree with Olivia Munn and with Emily Ratajkowski, but at the same time, I don't want to say flakes. I don't know if they're flakes. I think that Olivia Munn seems less flaky than Ratajkowski, but
right.
In any case, their opinions are valid, I guess. I just think this whole thing with Bezos and his rockets is like he saw that Elon Musk was doing SpaceX, and he really wanted to show that he could send rockets to space. But as opposed to Elon, which I feel like he's actually doing something, I wonder to myself, aside from just like these kind of vanity flights into space and back with celebrities, what is Jeff Bezos really doing? Do you get what I'm saying? I think that like,
yeah. And I mean, yeah, I guess there was one scientist among this, but I question whether or not she just wasn't a NASA DEI hire.
Right, but do you get what I'm saying?
That's the problem. That's not my fault. That's their fault for putting us into this position where we got to sit there and go, 10 years ago, I'd have been like, okay, she's qualified. She's a scientist. She's an astronaut. She works for NASA. But now even NASA's worthless. So like,
right. I mean, and again, I don't see when I look at SpaceX, I don't see them every second like sending celebrities like up in space and doing this stuff. I really feel like Jeff Bezos he's not capable of doing a SpaceX like Elon. And in order to sort of overcome the gap or overcompensate, he's like, what if I sent Shatner to space? What if I got Katy Perry? What if I got all these ladies? And it's like, yeah, okay, but what's the point of all of it? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's not. I don't see like an end game that's a lot more elaborate for
and
Bezos.
Six points out that he started his company 2 years before Musk, but he still feels like he's years behind Musk at this point.
He is Musk, years behind Musk.
He's gonna be so far ahead of the game, and I don't even know half of this crap that he's up to with SpaceX, but I know he's got plans and he's been working on stuff, and they're.
I'm not saying that Elon Musk is perfect by any means, but when it comes to running these type of companies and what he did with SpaceX, I mean, it seems like he's a lot more advanced with Jeff Bezos. And this is going to sound not nice, but this is what I think. I almost think that this kind of thing with the rockets for Jeff Bezos is stuff that when he's at a cocktail party, he can say, "Yes, I sent a rocket with Katy Perry to space the other day," and then everybody kind of like chuckles and he like raises a toast and everybody says how great he is. But I don't think that there's much value beyond that. I don't see any kind of bigger plan as to why he's doing this.
Yeah, I really don't say. I agree with you. Like for him, like Elon, I understand. He's a nerd. He wants to actually do some nerdy shit, whether it's take over Mars or whatever the fuck it is. But Bezos, he's just doing this so he can brag at the end of the day. And in a way, it's almost like he's taken over control of like NASA and shit. It's kind of weird. But anyway, like I really don't have much else to say about this. I just thought it was really silly how the media was making a big old deal about it when it's like it's not even the first woman who's been in space. right? I mean, I remember being a kid and Sally Ride and a bunch of other women. So like, this is nothing new. This whole idea that this is going to be the thing to inspire women to go into space. It's like, give me a break. More women got into to this type of, uh, studies or whatever you want to call it, space exploration and all that kind of stuff. Probably more so because they saw, Lieutenant Uhura or another character on Star Trek or were into Star Wars or something like that before any of this ever would influence them. I know the reason he wants to go to space. He wants to be
I
the
saw
first dude
that.
to go find an alien and fuck it.
I saw that Six was mentioning. I saw that Six was mentioning in the chat that Bezos started his company, I guess, significantly before Elon Musk did the SpaceX thing. But whatever Bezos did, it doesn't compare to the speed in which Elon is advancing. So even if he had this idea prior, I still don't think that he's gone all in on it until now.
I like when Knox said, it's not even the first women in space this month. Like,
By the
that's
way,
good.
how's it going, Nick?
How you doing, Nick?
Hey, Price. Hey, Tom. Yeah, pretty
Howdy,
good.
Nick.
Happy to be here. Obviously, it seems like I missed some fine details in the world, but I'm ready to talk about
Not really. We were just talking
women in
about
space. That's not really groundbreaking.
the Blue Balls ship or whatever. And as Patrick Robinson asks here, is this the gayest rocket ship ever built? Yes, the cock rocket.
Love it.
I always forget that dude's name. Anyway, well, let's wrap that up and let's get on to super chats here. FKHC 2005 sends in another 5 and says, nothing phallic about that rocket. No, not at all. It's not the gayest rocket ever built. Brings a whole new meaning to a rocket in your pocket. Yeah, I know. They wrote a dick to space. Gonzalo Bergali has been here for 37 months and sends in 150 Uruguayan pesos, I believe that is. Says another great step for feminism, sending an all-female crew in a giant metal willy to space. Yes. And then FKHC 2005 is calling out the Sadie cameo. Thank you for that. I don't know if she's still behind me or not. Yep, she is right there. She is. She's sitting down there just chilling. And then we got Dead Man who says, all of a sudden they're celebrating female accomplishments. I thought anyone could be a woman. Yeah, can they define a woman?
Yeah.
I think there was even some people bitching that there wasn't a trans woman amongst the group or some shit like that too.
Of course there was. Oh, of course there was. It
Like,
never
Jesus.
ends.
And thank you again, Patrick Robinson, for that. Yeah, that was funny. I haven't seen somebody do a meme of that. Is this the gayest rocket? Yeah. No, nobody claimed that they were the first women in space. It's just what they did claim is that this is going to be like this big accomplishment and it's going to make little girls want to get into space exploration and all this other bullshit, acting like all virtuous and signaling on it. And the fact that you got Katy Perry doing this shit and she's fucking kissing the ground and all this shit. It's just over dramatic and all for show is really what it was. And it was just a big, stupid advertisement for his rocket ship.
Well, at least she didn't force us to listen to one of her songs.
This time. Now, I can't remember. Did we talk about that Fantastic Four stuff on the last mead? Or did that come out after?
I can't say remember.
Maybe we did. What was it?
Oh, well, the stuff that Johnny Storm was saying.
Yeah, I think he said that it's good. I can't remember because I feel like there were a few days that each time there was another stupid leak of some person saying some dumb thing or another quote that was idiotic. I don't know. I think we got to the part where Johnny Storm was like, "Oh, why would he be a womanizer? Like, why would he like women?"
Did we talk about that on Mead though? I remember talking about it on the morning show.
I don't know. I've talked about it somewhere, but I don't know if I talked about it with you. But I feel like we read some Entertainment Weekly article or some crap like that. Maybe.
Let me look here.
In any case, that movie really isn't getting me excited.
So I don't think we have yet. So all right. So Entertainment Weekly, as you pointed out, did this cover story about Fantastic Four, and yeah, the big thing was about Johnny not being a hothead so much anymore and not being a skirt chasing scallywag. Uh, and even though this is taking place in the 60s, yeah. But anyhow, and then it gets into more of the movie itself. It was a very extensive write up. But of course, the thing that everybody's talking about is the comments where he says he's a man that leads with a lot of bravado, which can be an affront sometimes. But he's also funny, says Quinn. Myself and Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige were speaking about previous iterations of him and where we are culturally. He was branded as a womanizing devil may care guy. Who branded him as this? That's what I want to know. But is that sexy these days? I don't think so. This version of Johnny is less callous with other people's feelings, and hopefully there's a self-awareness about what's driving that attention-seeking behavior. And there was a clip today that was released of Johnny as well. I don't know if either of you guys saw it, but yeah. I mean, this is gonna just destroy this movie. This stupid
This
mentality.
movie's fucked in the ass. No lube ever. Seriously. It's going to take a 2-hour dicking. It's not going to do anything about it. It's probably actually going to like it, considering who's in the lead, past Hole. So, I mean, that's a hole who you won't want to pass up on. So, oh boy, yeah. This movie's going to be straight up disaster. And the fact that they're leading with this shit still to this very day, not to knock on, let's just say, names in our sphere, but anyone who said stuff about like woke is dead and any of that stuff, they're flat out fucking wrong. I'm not saying that with any like intention of disrespect, but it's clear these people are not gonna let this shit go without a fight. You'll probably see some scaling backs, but this is more of a they're down but not out.
Well, and of course, then they also had to talk about Sue Storm not being the traditional wife slash feminine role that she has in the original stories, I guess, too. And again, I was griping about how they're just clumping all this in together with masculinity and, what I would consider healthy, male energy compared to the negative shit. And to me, this whole thing is it's the misunderstanding of what it really is, right? Like, I don't know how else to put it other than that. And yeah, I was kind of more curious because Nick, I know you and I hadn't really got a chance to talk about it. And Price, you may have talked about it other places, but I don't think we have talked about it necessarily.
No, we didn't, Tom. We didn't.
Maybe we didn't.
Yeah, I do feel like this is gonna really hurt this film going forward. And even this meme I put up has been going kind of semi-viral.
I did not see that. That's fucking
good,
funny.
actually,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, this got pretty popular.
As it should, as it should. It deserves it. No, dude, I heard about everything that they were saying to talk about promoting this movie. I just thought to myself, oh, wow, they're doing the thing that has caused a lot of their movies, if not almost all of them, to outright fail. They just don't have it in them to give it up. It's obvious. They just won't give it up. I've said something along the lines that if one of these types was torn between getting eaten by piranha or changing their ideology and taking it out of a story, they will choose getting eaten by a piranha without a second thought.
Yeah,
These people are that committed.
This is another thing, Nick, I wanted to get your feelings on, because the other part Many Dragons brought up is a good point. She talks about her favorite version of Sue and how they wanted to bring that into this, and it's the twisted evil version of Sue.
Of course it is, because they can't do anything about traditional heroism. It seems like they like the period piece idea because retro is like more or less like in certain cultural aspects right now, but that's about it. It's a face value thing. But when it comes to the characters acting the way they do from that period of time, it'll be nothing like it. I mean, you got obviously a stupid Johnny Storm who cares about people's feelings. You got this Susan Storm who really isn't going to be a Susan Storm. And we have a Ben Grimm who doesn't talk like Ben Grimm. And we have Pedro Pascal who looks like he just drinks goat milk for all 3 meals of the day.
He's too old. He's too old to play this role. Why
I could look past his age if he looked and acted like Reed Richards. He doesn't look or act like Reed Richards in this trailer. He looks or acts like a character that is Pedro Pascal.
He left his stupid mustache on. He looks too old for the part. Vanessa Kirby is too old for the part. She's unfortunately she's not as hot as Jessica Alba. I know that's an evil thing to say, but that's true. So yeah, I'm not excited.
Why would you be? Seriously, even though the initial trailer, I remember saying when it came out a few months ago, I thought it was okay, looked decent. And there are things about it, I think, still to this day, look fine. But then you know this type of information, and if you're someone who, let's just say, consumes all this modern entertainment and outright hates it, yeah, this is the quickest way to say, okay, just like that, I'm out. I don't even consume like half the amount that you guys do. I tend to really be more specific because I like to do it based more on what I'm knowledgeable on. And it sucks. The Fantastic Four is something I'm pretty well versed in. And saying this, it just makes me not want to see it at all. I just don't want to give my time this movie. I feel like that's something worse than the money is the time, because money I could probably get a refund if I complain or complain hard enough. But the time is something I can never get back. And that is something that can't be replaced, that this shitty movie will say, fuck you, Nick. And yeah, we fooled you for seeing this one. I don't know. I don't care about this movie. I really don't. And I hate saying that. That's the part that scares me, is I've made it very clear on here. Johnny Storm is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time in all of fiction. Easy favorite member of the F4. And now I'm in a time where I just don't care to see this. I'm not mad about it. I don't care. I really don't care about this movie. And there's going to be movies I'm going to see this summer that I'm looking forward to, and hopefully that they're good and I can talk about them. But F4, I feel like F4, even if Superman is okay, I think F4 is going to get smoked by it.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
The thing is that I'm not saying that Vanessa Kirby is like awful or anything like that, but again, and I didn't Google her age, but I feel like they went for like an old version of Fantastic Four, which I think I did say it on this stream and maybe on other streams. If they were already going to go for people that are that age, just bring back the original cast, make a movie with them that actually has a good screenplay and doesn't suck, and I think that people would have been far more receptive to that. I never disliked the cast for the previous movies. I had issues with the movies themselves. I didn't dislike the cast. I feel like the only reason they made some money back in the day and had some goodwill is because the casting was actually pretty good. So I had no issue with the casting. And again, if they were going to go for like, okay, it's a whole new generation, it's people in their 30s, it's like a whole new thing, I'd say fine, 30s, 20s, or 30 to 40 or whatever it is. But they're bringing people that are like 50 something. It's like, what's the point of all of this? It's just it's dumb. Kevin Feige is annoying, and he just continues to annoy me. And even with all of Disney supposedly course correcting, even in Daredevil, there's still things that they can't let go of, and Kevin Feige is still annoying. And I don't know. I think he should resign already. And I think that Disney should stop with all this nonsense and games. They made money with Deadpool and Wolverine, but I'm not so excited about them making more money until they make a real change.
Well, I mean, you kind of got a point. Like, they kind of established Chris Evans coming back in Deadpool and Wolverine. And even though his character died in the void, we know Gambit is already set to be an Avengers. Speaking of, we'll get to that, what's on screen here. But as John Evan, Retro Guy Bear points out, I believe he means Jessica Kirby is 37 years old. Take a guess how old Jessica Alba is.
I don't know, but she looks fantastic even now.
Currently, yeah.
Probably like 45.
Maybe 40, 42.
Really close, 43. So what is the point? You guys, you are absolutely right, Price. There's no real, and not only that, I bet you that Pedro Pascal ain't young either. I bet you he's pretty
50.
close.
He's 50 years old.
I was saying he's pretty close to the same age as the guy who played him before. I forget his name, but
Jon Grufford or whatever.
Yeah.
Jon Grufford, whatever you say.
Yeah.
Let me see his age. That guy that actually, he's 51. He's
exactly. Chickless would be the only exception, but who gives a shit? Chickless would just be doing a voice.
Right.
So
He would
just
at
be doing
least
a voice.
sound like Ben Grimm. At least he
sounds
would
like
try.
And you
Michael
can redesign
Chiklis.
him. I don't care. Make him CGI like he could look just like he does in the movie now. And that's the other thing is they need to get past this whole idea that people don't give a shit. They never gave a shit back in the day. You could completely redesign shit sometimes between movies, and only a few nerds would say something. Usually, the
Nobody
general
would have
audience
said
just wouldn't
anything.
care.
Everybody
Yeah.
would have understood what happened, and everybody would have been okay with it. Chiklis can still do the voice. Sounds a lot more like the thing than the guy that the chef or whatever that's like cooking his sauces or something in the kitchen. I thought Joseph Quinn was fine in Stranger Things. I liked him there. I don't like what I'm seeing here with this Johnny Storm thing. I prefer not to see him in this. I would have taken Chris Evans. I don't like Chris Evans as a personality. He's annoying. But when it comes to being Johnny Storm and Captain America, I thought he did well in both roles. Those are probably the only roles
He was
that he
funny
ever
in
did well in.
Deadpool and Wolverine too.
What'd you say?
He was pretty funny in Deadpool.
Yeah, and you know what? Those two roles are the only good roles he's done. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Those are the two roles that he's done well. And, with all the multiverse, it could have been explained that he's still Johnny Storm, and it would have been cool. You just would have given them one movie. And I think that probably would have made a lot of money, in my opinion.
You
It
know,
could
there's
also
a great
played with
comment. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Oh no, go ahead, Nick.
Okay, there's a great comment in the chat from a TM Martin saying viewership is getting older though, and that kind of like rings a very similar bell to me because it reminds me of the whole idea of what the comic book audience, where the comic book audience got older, and they were failing to capture up and coming younger audiences, especially in the last like 2 decades. I wonder if the Marvel movies are gonna be like their comic counterpart in repeat history and do the same shit, where these movies will continue to have misfires, outright bombs, occasional do wells, and they're not gonna do anything that's gonna really make their audience expand and get them to say, hey, look, check this out. I have a feeling they're gonna play the same Marvel Comics card. Because once again, they won't let go of what they do. They'll say that they're gonna dial back, but clearly that was all bullshit. That was all clearly bullshit. I think MCU is gonna have a Marvel Comics syndrome, and they're gonna just fade out. And I think that fade out might be long and slow.
Well, according to Anthony Mackie, the Avengers Doomsday movie is going to give the audience that old Marvel feeling. And speaking of that old Marvel feeling,
Is that him admitting that the thing sucks?
Like Andy Masterson's in the house, but yes, that's a good point, Price. We'll come right back around to that. How you doing, Andy? Been a while.
Hi, guys. You were talking Marvel, so I felt like I had to chime in a little bit here.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Price, how are you?
You had to chime in? You figured?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. But I figured.
Go ahead.
What this says to me is that if this is their way of scaling back woke and scaling back all the things that they thought were offensive, they don't understand. Like, they think, oh, we just went a little bit too far. Nick said is that they think it's fine. They don't see a problem with it. They don't see that how far they went over and how much they've alienated people. And this is Feige. Feige's trying to straddle a line somewhere. He wanted control over this. He took control, and now he's got to reap the results of what he did. And it's a disaster. There's no coming back from this. Like, look at Daredevil. It was the most popular show on Netflix. It was great. Everybody loved it. Pretty much universally lauded, except for maybe the 3rd season. But and now nobody's watching this thing. And
I like the 3rd season.
I didn't have a problem with it. I would have liked him in the suit. That's the only thing I would have liked in the 3rd season. I would have liked him in the suit because I think you're making a comic book show. You're making a superhero show, and everybody's familiar with it. And you should have had him in it. I think you should have had him in the suit. But this one here, I wanted to like it. I wanted to. I love seeing Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I love seeing Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. He does a great Kingpin. Yet, when those two are in their characters, they do great. But the story is all over the place. I don't know the names of any of these people that are on the screen. Does anybody? I would challenge most people. What are the names of his partner and the even the girlfriend, like what's it, a Heather or something like that?
He's from the Marv Wolfman run.
Yeah.
Andy, she had a pretty brutal death in that run, so she might have a death wish. No Charles Bronson pun intended.
Right.
Being associated with Matt. I know who those characters are because a lot of them are characters in the book, but for the average viewer, yeah, most of them aren't gonna know who or remember those characters. Like I remember Kirsten McDuffie. She was introduced during the Wade run. Then you had Cherry, which Cherry was actually name dropped, I think, in the first season. If I remember correctly. So in the chat, if you remember that, remind me. But yeah, I know who those characters are because once again, I have those points of references. So those things have kind of like stuck to me like glue. Whereas, yeah, the average Joe Schmo is like who, what, when, where, why. But carry on, Andy. You're on a good tangent.
Oh, I just think that what they've done between this Captain America, it's what we were afraid of, that they were going to get the wrong idea from Deadpool and Wolverine, and Deadpool and Wolverine did well because it's Deadpool and Wolverine, and Ryan Reynolds was kind of running that show, and they didn't have that much input in it. It's the same thing when they didn't have enough input in Spider-Man No Way Home, that that came out good. And they don't know, there was a certain magic that happened with the original MCU, and Kevin Feige has no idea what that was. He just benefited from it. And the benefit, I believe, was that they stuck to the original characterization of the Marvel characters. They didn't, now that they've gone into the all new, all different, they've gone into the all new, all no audience. They're just crushed with the backlash of it, and they don't know how to backpedal. And if this is their idea of backpedaling, if this is their idea, like, you had all this and you throw all this stuff into the Fantastic Four that was created back in the 60s, and all those things, beach blanket bingo movies, guys in hot rods and all that stuff was the big thing. And guess what? There's a lot of ladies out there. I'd throw this out there to Six for us to be our female representation. Does any of these, very prim and proper and non-offensive boys get the juices flowing for any of the ladies? I don't believe so, unless their name's Dylan. It's just it doesn't work. It's just what is attractive to people is attractive to people. It's too much. They don't understand. There's archetypes for a reason. There's representations of beauty that are kind of consistent with things, and that's not going to change. That's not going to be a problem until they make it a problem with this. And I think that's the biggest issue. They don't know what got them where they were, and they don't know how to fix it, and they don't even know where they're at as far as how far over that line they've gone. And it's just sort of like, it's, that old stupid saying that somebody did. I don't know how to define pornography, but I know when I see it. Well, when you see these things and they're doing it for no other reason than the virtue signal, and they're doing it for their clout, it stands out like a shining red light. And everybody's like, oh, not this again. I've had enough of this. I know how this one ends. And they walk away. So
yeah, no, and they have no direction. They have no idea where they're going with this story. Like, whereas at least with phase one, we had an idea. By the time the end credit hit of the first Avengers movie, we all knew what they were leading to, and we kind of had an idea after Iron Man 2 that, okay, this is clearly they're on the way to getting the troops together: Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and more. We had an idea that you could tell there was something always there. Since phase 4, there is absolutely no blueprint. No one has been the construction work to say, hey, this is our blueprint, this is our guide, this is our Bible, whatever you want to call it. This is where we're going to go to figure out. They have straight up winged it in the worst possible ways. It's the Marvel version of the Zack Snyder DCEU all over again, but except with the MCU. They're lucky that they had the goodwill of phase 1, 2, and 3 of the MCU to give them the goodwill initially, because had these movies have come out without that goodwill, we think these movies are bombs now, dude. Holy crap, they would have looked like hits compared to the numbers that they would have made had they not had the previous MCU goodwill.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, as we kind of learn, Mackie is a little bit different as far as like he's a little outside the woke sphere, for better or worse on that part. Especially how he raises his kids and all that kind of business he talked about recently. So, I mean, coming from him, this does kind of mean something, I guess. But at the same time, I think Price is right from the start, pun intended, that that yeah, this is basically him signaling, yeah, we fucked up,
Yeah.
and shit's gonna get better, hopefully.
Well,
So,
yeah, but does anybody want to work with Marvel? That's my question. It seems like anybody that they've jumped ship and they're like, yeah, you know what? It's kind of like, you know, you hear all the screaming and yelling from the public from the men's room, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna try and find another bathroom. I don't want to use that one just yet. It's like that stink is going to permeate this for a long time. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to avoid working for Disney because they're afraid they're going to get contaminated with the same odor.
I think that, I mean, as far as established actors, actresses, I think some will have gotten the hint to this is not a good place to be. The only people that they're going to have a good chance of getting is the less experienced, which is probably what they want anyway, so they can be
Right.
cheap and pay them less. And because they're
or the
less
Brett
experienced,
Ratners and
they're going to be a lot more impressionable, a lot more desperate. Because when you're young and you're hot on the scene and new, you want to do whatever it takes to get that big break. And you're thinking, could I be the thing now that breaks the mold? Because you don't have that experience, so you're a little bit more desperate to latch on to anything and hoping that this could be your big break. So, and they're going to take advantage of that because when you have those type of people, they know, okay, hey, this guy really wants this role just so he could try to get his name out there. So we could take advantage of that. And then the movie bombs. Well, there potentially goes that potential star's potential career because they took a chance and they missed by a lot.
they can also take advantage of those who are no longer doing that well, like the Brett Ratners, right?
Yeah.
Or the Amber Heards, or the Russo brothers.
Yeah. Strangely enough.
Because, yeah, what have the Russo brothers done besides the Avenger films? Fuck all.
Yeah.
Every movie they've done otherwise has done nothing or bombed.
I guess that
So-
Oppenheimer money wasn't enough for Robert Downey Jr.
Well, he was just a bit part in that, but
That's
didn't
more
see
for
it.
his resume and awards. I don't think
Yeah.
that's where he
and
made
he's
the big
making
money.
so much fucking money off this movie, dude.
Oh, I
these movies.
saw, dude.
Like-
the budget of this movie is gonna be like $3 billion. I know I'm kind of like being hyperbolic.
No, but it
But
is
you-
already close to like $300 million just with the paying the actors out. You're not wrong.
We're talking about Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers alone, or what, 150 million? Those three alone,
Yep.
maybe.
Yep, something like that. And then the rest, you start adding it up. Yeah, they're already figuring it's over $300 million. But let's
Hey,
see
Tom,
what
I
the
got
audience is saying. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I got a question for you since you're really plugged in all the pop culture stuff. Let's call this the Rachel effect. How many of these people do you think will start keeping their mouth shut now that they've seen how Disney has just kind of thrown Rachel under the bus? Like the failure of Snow White was completely her fault, which it wasn't. I mean, a lot of it was, but like,
Yeah, but they used
not all
her.
of it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I'm wondering how
that's a
many
good
of
question.
these people will say, like, you know what? I think I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I'm going to be hung out there to dry, and they're just going to be like, yeah, we had nothing to do with that. Even though, like Andre pointed out, like Gal Gadot had the same kind of lines that she did in the beginning of this thing. We're not going to make it like a Snow White with a love story and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and to support kind of where they came from on that part is they even said in that one write-up about it, the investigation in it, that and the one dude backed it up with the kid of the producer when he said his dad had to go talk to her. They didn't have an issue until she said Free Palestine underneath the trailer. So you're 100% right. They were all on board with the Prince business and all that stuff. It was kind of a, them editorializing that didn't help, which it didn't. It's just true. But I don't think Disney cared so much about that aspect of it as they did her politicizing the damn thing.
There is
And I
one
think it's going to
additional
take 3 or 4 more of these before actors learn. But what were you going to say, Price?
basically, here's the difference. I think that Gal Gadot, when she speaks, she seems more pleasant. Even if she would have said, "Oh, it's a bit more modern, whatever," people would have gotten annoyed. But I don't think that they would have felt as annoyed personally with her. With Rachel Zegler, the sort of obnoxious attitude that she personally just naturally has attached to those talking points were a really bad combination. Meaning, it's not that she just said, "Oh, this is like a new version. It's a bit more modern. We're giving it a modern twist." If she would have said it and she genuinely seemed really nice, Rachel Zegler, then people would have said, "Well, this is really stupid." Kind of like Halle Bailey in The Little Mermaid. She said a bunch of stuff that she was told to say, but I don't think people were going and saying we hate Halle Bailey. Everybody understood what the deal was. Rachel Zegler is just, I'm sorry, and I don't know how to say this. She's kind of a bitch. She acts that way. She is like
You're
proud
right.
It's the
of
way
it.
she carries herself. Yeah.
She carries herself that way, and people aren't stupid. When you see a certain type of person with a certain personality and attitude that's unlikable, sometimes it's just people can just feel it, and I think that in Rachel Zegler's case, they feel it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, she kind of has the resting bitch face because she just has resting bitch personality. 6.
Yeah.
It's not just the face, right? Because I've known
I
plenty
agree.
of pleasant women with that kind of a face, right? It's like, yeah, you get that first impression, but then when you get to know them, you're like, oh, you just have that look about you. That's all. But anyway, and men for that matter too. I have like resting fucking pissed face. So go figure. Goddess Wim says Sue has both Reed and Johnny's balls on a bracelet as a woman. Yes, devil may care is sexy as a sexy you soy boy. Yeah, and I was bringing this up how they're kind of mashing all these things together. It's like no. You're taking some things that are still positive and mixing them with negative.
Yep, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to think, oh hey, look, we're gonna backpedal all this on the message, but we still got this here. Yeah, no, it's gotta be all. I want none of it. Absolutely none. Full stop. There's no compromise with this type of shit because if you compromise, they're gonna eventually want to do it again. They're going to do more again. Letting off the pedal. No, you gotta remove the brake assembly completely on it. Remove the damn engine. You don't just get to pump the brakes. You gotta freaking dismantle the car completely.
Yeah. I know. I was reading what you were saying, 6. I guess I should have attributed. I thought I was talking to you through the screen. Actually, I was just saying that men have it too. Is all. Because I have like
What do men have?
resting pissed face
Is that your
or
version
grumpy
of that?
dad
Rusty?
face. Yeah. Well, it just looks. Yeah. SFX 314 Sabretooth Raptor says with 5, I'd take at SpaceX over Faceplant with Jeff Origin space program any day. SpaceX might end up creating warp drive while Origin stays in orbit. Yeah, I know, right? Like this is the thing. It's so far advanced in comparison. You could tell, especially with the landings and all the stuff that they've gotten, and they get so much better every time. It's like my dad tried saying something like, "Oh, they've crashed all this many times." I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, it's not really that bad compared to NASA.
And they're only saying that because Elon Musk is the new boogeyman. If he was not the new boogeyman, they would be like, everything has a starting point. But because it's the guy they don't like, they gotta nitpick at every single micro detail. Because
there's a time there where NASA's odds were not very good, right? Like,
yeah. But they gotta ignore
of
that because that doesn't benefit their argument. Because they're not basing it on NASA. They're not basing it on logic and progression. They're looking based on, well, if it's Elon Musk, it's automatically always going to be bad, no matter what.
Well,
they've made up their mind already.
Weren't the Chinese kind of kicking her ass for a bit there too in the like 90s or aughts or something
Yeah,
like that?
they were. I think
I can't recall exactly. I'm not into the space race stuff or whatever, but Andre'd be the guy to ask that about. But SFX Sabretooth Raptor says Marvel is beyond saving at this point. Only a 30-year-old vaulting might be what it needs to salvage it. Agree with Tom. Superhero movies are on their way out to irrelevance like Westerns back in the day. I don't know if 30-year vaulting will help, but it's just all they did is transform, right? Because Westerns survived a long time in the form of television and smaller films, right? Like you had Little House on the Prairie and all these other shows throughout the 70s and 80s. And Your Walker Texas Rangers were even more modern westerns. Even Yellowstone, right, is considered a western, and all the spin-offs and whatnot. So, I mean, it lives on in television, and it has its ebbs and flows with popularity. And I think that's kind of how comic book movies and shows are going to go going forward. I think we're going to have once in a while, we're going to have a Batman or a Spider-Man that's going to hit pretty decent or big. One will be more popular than the other sometimes. But then on television, once in a while, you'll have like a resurgence here and there, but it'll just kind of be in the background eventually. Hollywood has got to reinvent itself. It's basically got to reinvent the wheel at this point.
Don't you think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that it's not so much the fatigue, it's just the quality drops so low because everybody and their brother now starts making it's like Jaws. That's how you get like, the all the cheap generic shark movies and the cheap generic I won't say horror movies because horror movies are by themselves usually pretty cheap, but you'll get a good writer and a good creator like a Wes Craven or somebody like that comes along, a John Carpenter, and does the genre really well. Then you get, for as many of those guys, you get a Yui Bowl who tries to do something. And I'm wondering if the fatigue that people feel is just because they're tired of watching crappy movies, and once they've seen enough of crappy movies in, say, the superhero genre, that they're going to move away from it just because they're expecting. It's kind of like us when we see all the woke stuff. Now you can't just have like a random gay character or a random, ethnic character, something like that, and our minds are automatically going to go to like, you know what, I've seen this before, and we're not really willing to give it a chance, and maybe our perceptions are going to be a little biased because we've been burned so many times. And I wonder if that's if you would have, let's say, for example, if Superman does a tremendous job and is really done well and is great, will that revitalize the superhero genre?
I think it'll buy it a few more years of relevance, but I also think I think the more I've looked into it, because like that's what because I was resistant to say like the same thing with like, oh, it's it's got to be more the quality than the quantity, but the quantity matters too, right? Especially when you have more than just DC and Marvel. You have all these other smaller, and everybody for a while. Like, look at how saturated we were with superhero movies in the last 10, 15 years, right?
Right.
I mean, we even have reboots of reboots at this point with Hellboy, right? Like, I mean, like, that's a problem. And even Westerns, they weren't always that great, right? Like, there was a lot of shitty Westerns.
Oh, yeah.
Just the ones that we remember are the good ones mostly. Right? Or they are attached to John Wayne or something, you know what I mean? Like, and even some of his films aren't that great. We just remember them because they were John Wayne movies.
You better watch what you're saying, Tom.
Yeah, well, a lot of my early movies were crap.
You damn commie pinko.
But think about that for a moment, because like when he first got onto the scene, I mean, cowboy films had kind of dominated for at least 25 years, because he was making a lot of the short films more or less, because they were less than an hour long, because this was before television and shit, so you had the shorts, and so he did tons of those, and it was a little different then too. So like you had a lot of stuff going on television already with CW for years, and we've had they tried during the 80s and 90s to make some of this stuff work, and I think that the audience was there, it just wasn't there in a concentration they were hoping for yet, or it just hadn't quite materialized in the way it did for like Batman in 89, and then later on for Spider-Man and X-Men and all that business. So it's part of it is, I think that a large portion of the audience has kind of moved on. So now you got to scale it down to, you only have this portion of the audience left that's even interested in this shit anymore. And I think the proof really that struck me was when they said the ratings for Daredevil were worse than the last Star Wars Acolyte show or whatever. And it's like, everybody hated that fucking show. So like when one of their more popular shows can't even bring in the audience, I'm like, that's sad. Something's wrong here. That means Marvel and everything is real dead. Unless Superman and Fantastic Four knock it out of the park, like home run, then this thing is really on a ticking time clock. And I think television is going to be the future for a lot of superhero shit. That's just my opinion, but frankly, if you go by what happened to Westerns, the only type of genre of film that has an unknown shelf life is horror. But that's just
Mhm.
because it can keep changing and you can make just about anything into a horror film.
Well,
Right.
not to mention you have a season once a year that's just prime time for horror movies.
Bingo, that helps too, right? But I mean, even if you go back through the history of films, like the genre of action had changed over time too, and how the film, like, comic book movies just kind of replaced the action film, is what
Mhm.
happened. And now that's starting to make a comeback with like the Jason Statham movies and some of these other films. So they just got to reestablish some semblance of the way things kind of used to be, while also finding the new thing like Minecraft, right? Something we can't quite define yet. The meme movie or whatever you want to call it, because that's a new code that has been cracked now for future film, because film has to change. It always changes over time. Things change, the technology changes. We've been stuck in a technological rut with film for the longest time ever in the history of film, right? Because you go back through film and we advance through, silent to sound to color to stereo to widescreen to 3D to all these innovations within just a pocket of years, right? Compared to what we've done to fuck all. We've gotten to what, 4K, which is basically making digital look closer to film. Bravo, kids. Like, that's all we've really accomplished. CGI hasn't made any more. Oh, AI. Okay, AI is the only other thing that we've gotten recently that's kind of even remotely like, CGI is advanced as far as it's going to advance and stuff like that is what I mean, right? So anyhow, I don't know if that really answers that question or not. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out. Jason Webster says Marvel Films has pretty much lost its touch with a generation of core fans once their bedrock base. Well, not only that, they've been around long enough to where a whole generation of fans have pretty much grown up with them. So you got to think about it. This is like the only other franchise kind of like this is James Bond, but even that had breaks here and there.
Yeah,
Not like
there was
huge
always
breaks,
a few breaks. It was long enough though that it would make you start to miss it. Whoever got that going, when there's a transition, not only between like regular Bond movies, but also the transition to the next Bond. It was not like short enough where it felt like it was just yesterday, but it was not too long enough where I was just like, oh man, like already. So it was just that perfect spot where like, oh man, when's a new Bond movie gonna come out? It's been some years. Oh hey, it's on the way. And that timing
Yeah.
of the Bond movies was really well done. Whoever made that decision, regardless of how you feel on the Craig movies, which we all know how I feel on most of those movies, their scheduling of those movies and the timing of them was really well done.
I mean, it's kind of crushing under the weight of itself. I think maybe we've seen the extent you can kind of take one of these shared universe things. I mean, it's part of it's their own fault. They could have continued to do just fine for a couple more years, probably, but I mean, I can't think of any other franchise that's lasted this long without some kind of major gap. That kind of made people go, I miss that. I want that back. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. They don't want to take a break at all. They feel like they have to put something out every single year. And they're not making people, even if they want to try to get them to get reinvested, to miss it. They won't allow that. They just think something has to come out every 4 to 6 months. And that's not helping things, especially when things are not good. It was great when the stuff was good. I loved it. Like,
Right.
trust me, I was one of those guys who was eating up on this shit. It was a cool
They
time.
should have
Like,
taken a break.
Look, Avengers Age of Ultron, love it. Oh, hey, Ant-Man is in a few months. Awesome. And then, the next year, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange. I was cool with all that. But when this shit is shit, well, I just want it flushed down the toilet. So
Well, they should have taken a break after
they
Endgame.
should have. They should
5
take
years. 5 years,
yes.
no more Marvel. If they would have suddenly done something after 5 years, people would have been really excited.
They should, yeah. I see someone mention in the chat they didn't need a break. They try. See, here's the thing. Obviously the bigger problem is they try to change their core audience. Yes, that is true too. But the thing is, it's good and healthy to take a break. Believe it or not, it is good to take a little bit of a gap and just get people reacquainted, especially when you have between 2008 through 2019. Only 1 year throughout all that did not one MCU movie come out. That was 2009. They had all these years of history. They could have had people rewatch the phases 1, 2, and 3, and then 5 years later come back in, and of course maintain their core audience. If they want to try to branch out a little bit, with a detour or two, you could have done that. But instead, they thought no breaks, and we're gonna absolutely just replace this audience. They assumed that because we're gonna chase this audience, that they're gonna automatically duplicate what they had before. And it's clear most of that non-existent modern audience didn't see this shit. The people who saw it were, I guess, the regular audience, and we all saw how it panned out. So for all this pandering that they did, they really didn't get anything out of it. So
really.
instead of blaming us, why aren't they blaming the modern audience? Is it because
the sad part? The sad part with all this is that Marvel, if they had been smart, if they had done things right, and probably if Feige hadn't done his coup, they could have had Marvel wouldn't have just been a genre. Marvel would have been Marvel. You could have had horror Marvel. You could have had space Marvel. You could have had action Marvel. You could have had, even hell, you could even have soap opera Marvel with and put all these things under one
Marvel,
thing.
Cosmic Marvel. Oh, you could. The sky could have been the limit, Andy.
Yep.
I think that was part of the plan, sort of, to have like a dark Marvel and a space and multiverse and all that kind of stuff. Because that was what Gunn was supposed to do, is oversee the space side of things and all that kind of business. But I think it all just fell apart when Feige got fired, or Gunn got fired. Jason Webster then sends in another 5 and says, also Marvel films are too busy catering to a base that is minority or does not exist and risk becoming niche. Well, yeah, that's kind of what Nick was kind of just saying, is they don't actually go after the audience they should. And that is this supposedly new, young, modern audience they're trying to appease or appeal to that doesn't really show up to this shit. Right. And the proof has been in the pudding so many times with, Christ, even more recently, Snow White. None of them showed up to Snow White.
No, and they have not shown up to the bulk of shit. The majority of the stuff they have not shown up to. So either this modern audience is more niche, that it's so niche that it makes Star Trek look mainstream, or it doesn't exist. I don't know which one it is, because I can never prove which one it is. I don't even have the slice of a hunch. But it's clear that this niche is so obscure, it makes a band like Obituary look like they're as big as Britney Spears. That's how niche this modern audience is. But let's keep trying to pander to that. Let's keep trying to pander, because that's clearly working out, especially when you're trying to quote unquote win back some old people. You're not gonna win them back doing this. You're not. You'll have maybe a few that might say, hey, let's see what this is like again. And then you're going to remind them why they came back. And then they're gone again.
Well, I got one more.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, I got one more story before we get out of here, but you go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just going to say that this newer audience, these younger generations, don't have something that like my generation, your guys' generation has.
Yep.
And we had a loyalty.
Many times, Andy. Go on.
Yeah. We had a loyalty. We had something we loved, and we were going to stick with it. These younger generations they're entertained by something they see on screen, but they've got no loyalty to it. It's not that they want to see more. They just want to be entertained by something else. And they're willing to see something else, just move into that slot and take that. Whereas we were looking for something that was that we could hold on to, that was like we grew up with and we wanted more of. They don't have that.
Doesn't help that they're also taught that way too. They're programmed that way. It's obviously unintentional, but they are being programmed that way. It also doesn't help when you add insult to injury. A lot of generational gaps, they have like the thing that was big on their upbringing. We could say up to like the 2000s, you could say, hey, this generation had this generation had that. Outside of the MCU, the 2010s doesn't really have much of like a few big things. Like you almost had it with Game of Thrones until you made that ending so divisive. No one ever talked about it ever again, except the people on YouTube talk about how bad it was. You had a moment there. Granted, that's a show, but you get the point. These generations, they don't have their thing back. This is our thing.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while.
Throughout the rest of time, to say this is what we had growing up. Like for the people late 70s, early 80s, hey, look, we had Star Wars, the original trilogy coming up. This was our thing for the early 2000s. The Lord of the Rings, big, yeah, and that expand upon generations. And once again, because it ended on such a good note, that goodwill expanded beyond younger generations. I talked to younger workers of mine who are early 20s, late teens. They love the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Love the original trilogy.
Oh no, I've said that a few times, and I think
edition too. So it's clear that young people do want to watch movies and go to the movies, but you got to give them something that they want to see too, because it's clear that they want to see stuff that is closer to faithfulness of an IP than whatever it is Hollywood wants to shit out of their fucking bunghole.
Yeah, and that's why I think Minecraft did so well. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say there. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Nick, but like, no, you're 100% right. And I've been singing that for a while, that's a big problem. It's like, you want to get a new audience, you want to get the young kids, make them shit they want to see. Don't take the stuff that their parents and their parents' parents were into and try and make it for them. That's not always going to work.
No.
Right? Yeah, it worked in certain aspects, like back in the 70s and 80s, they would make the new modern cool version of like Dracula or King Kong or whatever. Sometimes those would work, sometimes they wouldn't. You know, for every fly we would get a half a dozen of the other ones that would suck. So it's the way it goes, right? But we also had our own new things too at the same time. That was the whole point that you were getting at, Nick, and that's 100% correct. And that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I know. I it's like, yeah, don't get me wrong. If my kids get into things that I like growing up, it's great. But I also know better that that's not going to be the expectations because they are my kids. I know I can't just automatically assume that that's going to automatically translate. Like, I'm not Hollywood where I think, oh, if I replace this audience with this audience, it'll automatically translate. It doesn't work like that. Hell, it doesn't. Once again, it's not going to automatically work that way with my kids. But I like my oldest. She's huge into Minecraft. She loves gaming, so she's excited about Minecraft and happy. And hopefully, this Minecraft stays the course for movies where they can carry goodwill and get other kids to go see more of these Minecraft movies and whatever else comes their way. But yeah, I want to see the younger generation one back. Hey, look at this cool new movie. I want Arya to come up to me, Dad. Can I go see this movie with my friends? What is it? Oh, this looks cool. Yeah, here's some money. Here you go. Go enjoy your movie. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to say and do that for them. And like, that's their thing. If they just happen to like something I like by chance, hey, great. But she deserves things to call her own as well.
Yeah, and as Patrick says here, now we got Chicken Jockey. And I don't think you're making fun of it necessarily, but even if you are, look, I'm not gonna, because to me, it's no different than when my parents said, I don't know what the cowabunga dude shit is, but whatever.
Oh, dude, yeah. I had an aunt who was that way. Yeah. So I know.
Well, as I've said many times, my grandma used to call them the Nintendo Turtles. She didn't know. She's like, you and them Nintendo Turtles. Yeah. And then Jason Webster says, for blockbusters, I am a fan of volume containment, reasonable budgets, staggering release dates, and good focused storytelling, which is imperative. Well, and Hollywood used to be, now they weren't always like perfect, right? They famously made some bombs over time, but for the most part, there was sometimes when they kind of knew, or they had this inkling that something was worth putting a little bit more into. A great example of that would be like Terminator 2, right? Because there was a lot of people who were going like, fucking Cameron's insane for spending this kind of money. The studio's insane for giving him this kind of money. When that movie ended up becoming one of the biggest blockbusters of all time, right? Like, there was really nothing to really signify that outside of video sales and some other things and pent up, demand for the movie. And we didn't even have the internet then, right? So like, to be able to understand the fever for people going, we need another Terminator movie. How does this movie not have a follow-up yet? Right? Like, after all these years, and the pressure that movie was under to not just live up to the first film, but perform in a way that the first film never even could have. And it managed to do it. So once in a while, Hollywood knows how to get behind certain things, but not all the time. And not everybody's a James Cameron. I get that too. But
isn't it ironic, Tom, that back in the day they had less resources to gauge their audience, and now they
Yeah.
have more resources than ever. That figuring out how to gauge their audience for some should be easier, but it's like somehow there's so much more loss, even though their resources are dramatically better than they were 20, 30, even to a lesser extent 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, to this day, I'm still shocked that Highlander never got a sequel. I mean, thank God it didn't, because it probably would have been bad.
Yeah, I know, right? On that note,
Yeah,
speaking of
same thing about the
sequels,
Matrix. I always wondered what could have been.
from Jurassic Park to Godzilla Monsterverse, this is the last story I wanted to bring up. This is an interesting one, I guess. What do you guys think of this? He's jumping brands.
Brand jumper.
Sam Neill is on board with the next legendary Monsterverse film.
What's it based on?
It's going to be the next Godzilla X Kong movie, I believe. No word on what role he'll be yet, but yeah, I think it's the next Godzilla.
It doesn't
X-Kong.
even matter. The humans mean nothing in those legendary
much.
movies.
They do
True.
pretty much, but this is kind of interesting because this is almost kind of like a, if the Jurassic films weren't still happening, this would almost be kind of a novelty. But we still have one coming out this year. Now, granted, I'm not so sure that this one might be the first one to underperform. We'll see. I don't want to say it won't because I don't want to be wrong.
I'm so tired of these. I think that they need to
I
give
am
them a
too,
break.
but every time I think they're going to keep failing, they keep making more money than the last price. That's the problem.
I'm tired of all of this. I actually think that Jurassic Park needs a rest. And also, the legendary Monsterverse movies, in my opinion, aren't all that good.
I'm sorry, but Price had to go to his home planet.
I'm curious to see what Takashi Yamazaki does with Godzilla -1 sequel, because that I really liked. But these kind of Monsterverse movies, they're not that great. They're fine to look at, but they're really not that great.
That's fair, but
What
I don't see
movie
the
isn't
reason
good to look at nowadays. But
Well,
ends up
no,
being
but-
shit.
I just think it's silly that people are like pitting the two up against each other. It's like the fact that we can have both and both can coexist to me is like eating good. Like, I get it. You're not into that shit. I'm not. I'll admit to you wholeheartedly that Godzilla -1 kicks the shit on anything the legendary Monsterverse movies has done, but I had a lot of fun in those last few movies. I don't care. There are a lot of like the cheesy, cool shit that I remember growing up mixed with modern, effects.
Girl
And you're 100%
bosses.
right. The girl boss, the characters don't fucking matter. Right. And that's where I had to learn to just let that shit go after Godzilla King of the Monsters. Because that movie's plot has got to be the worst human plot of all the films. And since then, they have at least learned that they have to back off of the human elements.
Good.
Right,
I don't
they've
want to.
learned that
I don't
in the
want to care
last-
about my characters. I'll let
They
minus
saved the
one
human
do their
stuff.
thing.
They save the human stuff more for the Monarch series now. And it's like they learn that, like, okay, the serious drama stuff we keep for that. And then the movies are just the bash them up for the kids. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, the kids love dinosaurs. The kids love monster movies. That's why the Jurassic movies are still doing good.
My
But I
kids
totally
love
understand.
Godzilla X Kong. Both of them.
I just don't
Both my girls love it. They think it's so like insane and crazy. They love it.
Well, it's like wrestling matches now. Like,
And that's why they love wrestling too. They just like beat 'em ups.
like that last movie felt like a Saturday morning cartoon. When I got out of it, I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't like this movie, but I probably liked it more than I did the last Godzilla Kong movie.
Yeah.
Tornadoes nailed it. People pay for familiarity, especially if you're older and more seasoned. You definitely latch on to something that looks recognizable. Whereas people get scared of things that have uncertainty or they are less knowledgeable on because they've grown up with a certain thing and a certain expectation, a point of reference to what they like. That the unfamiliar is a bit scary. And that's why I've always kind of swore to not let myself become that as I get older. Luckily, I still try to keep an open mind, but I always say, keep yourself in check because I want there to be new shit to root for. I don't want to be like, I would just hate some just because it's not from my generation. Like, I love where I come from. I have great shit, but I want to make sure if I'm hating on something that's newer, it makes sense and not just being the old man yells at clouds.
And I'm not even coming down on your price. I'm just saying it'd be different if like one was getting in the way of the other, if you know what I mean. But the only thing they have is like one can't come out as in the same year as the other. That's
Yeah,
the
it's
only
fine.
stipulation they have.
It's fine if you like
But I
the dumb
love this
ones. It's
picture because
fine.
it shows that they both can coexist, and it does not negate anything you just said. Because I agree with everything you just said. Right?
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
God,
I'm not upset if you like the dumb ones. It's just that I kind of like I like it when there's actually meaning. Godzilla -1 gave me the kind of feeling that I wanna have when I watch this type of movie. It's fine if you like the other one. There were some things on screen that I found, intriguing or entertaining to watch, but
Mhm.
it was such a low effort with the screenwriting and the characters and the actors that I couldn't let it slide. I mean, if they could have just made a little more of an effort, but it is what it is.
See, I agree and I disagree mutually on that price. I like the idea of Godzilla -1, and it's the first one of those movies ever where I cared about the humans, but I also don't want that to be the expectation going forward. When I watch those movies, I like going in for full on superhuman retard strength, and I want to just have right. That's a new one. Superhuman retard strength.
well, I think that
I,
was
I
used
want
in.
this. I want this shit to be so retarded that we spell retard with one R. That's how like off the wall. But I do welcome exceptions like Godzilla -1, where there is a bit more of a layer to it. I
Well,
think
and they
there is a
tried.
place. I think there is a place for both on the planet. I don't think one needs to exist over the other. If you like one, no, you can have that serving. If you don't like the other, well, the other. It's like if you're a sausage guy, go have your sausage on your pizza. Me, I'll go have my pepperoni on my pizza.
That's what I mean. Like, it's not like one's taking over the other. And the legendary, they did try to go more serious, right?
Yeah.
And look how that turned out. It just
Well,
didn't
that's
work with them trying to do both. And I think they learned that we just kind of got to go this route. Let them do their thing, and we'll do ours. I think that worked out best for both.
that was my concern with, like, I agree with Price completely with that -1 did the characterization so well. I'm just afraid that would signal legendary, like, hey, look, we were right the whole time trying to put these human characters in here and make them a thing, but they did it well and we didn't. So what's the difference? And now you're back in the Marvel territory about it looks like when the Daredevil series, these writers are looking over, they're copying off the paper from Netflix and saying, what did they do right? How did they answer this? They're not
Yep.
coming up with their own answers. They're like, and that's what I'm afraid with Legendary. It's like, hey, what would the Japanese guy do with his characters in this position?
That's
Well,
why
see, and that's where
Legendary needs to stay in their own lane and do
Yeah.
their thing. You stick with retardation, and then Godzilla -1 can deal with sophistication.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they understand that, like, yeah, Godzilla -1, you're pro boxing, we get it. We're wrestling, we get it. We're not going to change it. They're leaning into it, right? Especially with Godzilla X Kong. Like, I'm like, oh, they're totally leaning into this now. Because, like I said, they basically made the human characters almost non-existent at this point. Like they're like they're barely there. Like, and I agree with Price. Like, it's most of their storylines are just stupid.
Yeah.
Just stupid. But you know what? It's the thing is and some of the people in the chat get where I'm coming from, is like, the beauty of those is they're completely in line with that era, that goofy era of Toho films.
But
Right?
I've seen,
And just like with Godzilla -1 is in more in line with the OG era of Toho films,
I
right?
like
So
the OG era better,
and that's fine.
And
That's
in
great.
any case, I've seen Friday the 13th movies where those counselors that die have more like character development and interesting stories than what I saw in the last Godzilla movie. Though that stupid lady with that other idiot that she didn't want him to be his boyfriend because she's the girl boss, and the girl who was like the key to everything. Man, it's like they went through a list of the dumbest things that annoy me and threw them into a movie. Just make like a minimum story. Just the most generic, stupid story would have been better than the crap we got in that movie. And
Fair, but
that's how I felt. It's like I felt like they're so lazy. I mean, there's hundreds of millions of dollars here. At least do something that's just generic and serviceable. They couldn't even do that. So I can't give them a pass. You know what I mean? It's fine if you like to see all the creatures on the screen, and maybe kids like that too, and I can appreciate that. But the fact that they're so lazy with their hundreds of millions of dollars that they refuse to write like a serviceable script, I have an issue with that.
the fact that they're 10 times better than anything Transformers has ever spat out, I think that speaks to that. But they're not trying to like overplay their hand either. Price. That's what I'm getting at, is like They're not trying to get pretentious. They're not trying, and that's kind of what Andy was just saying, is that's his fear, right? Is he's afraid that Legendary will turn around and try to mimic Godzilla -1. It's like, oh no, I think they learned their lesson on that already. They tried to do the more serious
okay,
mixed
they
with
don't
the,
need they don't need to do what Takashi Yamazaki did.
that's what I'm saying.
Not-
Let him do that. Let him do
Yes,
that.
yes,
They can
I
do their
agree.
thing, and
I
you got to think
agree.
of this like a Minecraft for of.
I have a
You
minor
know what I mean?
request. A minor request. Just make it barely serviceable enough. Just make it so that the thing somehow makes minimum logical sense and is not a complete insult. And I think you'll do fine. Basically, they're not even willing to do that.
They did minimum effort and they did fine. Look at the money they freaking made.
And
Super
imagine
profitable.
what, like, if it wasn't like a person with mental disabilities writing the screenplay, maybe
Retarded.
it would have been like even just a little bit better.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you that they are very dumbed down. Like, and they probably couldn't go a little bit. Like, I would probably write a much better version of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, you know what?
But-
I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you, Tom. Keep the same stupid stories and writing and whatever. Bring like hot women and men that like women and men that like are nice. The women could look at the men on screen. Men could look at some nice women on screen. At least make it like somewhat enjoyable. They're not even
Agreed.
willing to do that. They shoved in their like woke propaganda crap in the middle of the movie where they don't have a screenplay, and it was just stuck like a thorn in my side. I would have just deleted all the humans from that movie altogether and probably enjoyed it more.
So, Price, what you're saying is you want Taylor Sheridan to cast the next Godzilla movies.
You know what? If he
I'm on board. I'm on board.
there's
Wow!
I was
probably
talking
more
about
of a
the Michael
chance that
Bay
there'll be some
movies,
decent,
obviously.
like, looking actors and actresses in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get 20 minutes of Taylor Sheridan with his shirt off. So, yeah.
Smoking
That's
a
fine
cigar,
if
fighting
Godzilla eats him right afterwards.
All right, well, let's keep moving. I didn't expect to talk about it this long. Action Com says, look up any Siskel and Ebert episode and just watch the intro. You'll see a movie you recognize like Die Hard, and then 3 that are forgotten. Most of the time, you're correct, Action Com. Once in a while, there's a banger of an episode, but I watch Siskel and Ebert all the time. I've probably seen almost every classic episode that has been uploaded, along with when it was originally on. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, that was pretty much the way it was every week. There's like 1 or 2 movies you'd heard of, 3 that are forgotten. But the thing is, a lot of those movies, that's how I learned about a lot of films back in the day. But yeah, and then we got Jason Webster who says, literally everything is getting friggin' universe. What's next? Freaky Friday getting a Friday verse? Well, they're doing a sequel to that already, so hold your horses on that. You never know.
They're doing another sequel to that
Yeah.
shitty sequel that they haven't released.
No, the
It's
one
now
that's
a
coming up.
universe.
No, I
Oh,
don't
the
know.
one that we
I'm
have, the
saying
one that there's
we
trailer
got the one
for.
coming up.
That
Yeah.
movie looks awful. The one from that I see in the trailer, it looks absolutely awful. Even the first one was barely a movie. I mean, the first one was a remake, but even that one was barely a movie. The fact that after 70 years they made this stupid sequel, it's embarrassing, and the trailer looks super embarrassing.
What's more embarrassing is that they've reversed roles in real life. Now Jamie Lee Curtis is the crazy one.
I guess.
Yeah, and what's her face has got her shit together.
Lindsay Lohan.
I guess.
Lindsay
Does
Lohan, yeah.
together,
So
who knows?
she's a crazy old lady.
Yeah. Anyhow, so let's get out of here. Andy, are you back with us, or are you gone? I know he had to run off for a minute. He's still gone. All right, Nick, what you got going on? Is there a Toxic Tuesday tonight, or is tonight the week off?
Tonight's the week off, but however, the caveat to that, me and Mark D with a C will be talking the Born Again season finale. Please don't suck. And if it does, well, we're gonna tell you that'll be at 9:30 Central Time. So if you're on Eastern, 10:30, we'll be talking about that finale. Me and him. If anyone wants to join us on panel, we'll let them on. But yeah, at the very least, it's gonna be me and Mark, and hopefully, it's not us draining our sorrows about the show. On top of that, I'll see you all next week on MEAD because I'll be in Vegas come Thursday. So, yeah, Toxic Tuesday will be back next week for Rush Hour. I can't wait. So I'm going to miss you, Tom and Andy and Bryce. It's going to be really weird being in Vegas and knowing that I'm not on MEAD because I won't be near my computer.
Well,
But
go
thanks
MEAD
for having me.
represent because I'm not able to afford to go out
Yes.
there. So
I'm going there to give cultural representation. I'll see you later, guys. Thank you.
See you
I hear
next.
there's a lot of nice ladies in Vegas in that casino. They wait in the lobby. They're always waiting for me.
They're always asking if I want a date.
And as soon as they come to my room, I'm going to whip them up a nice batch of beefaroni.
All I know is down in Vegas, I must be one sexy dude.
Don't you like that shit, Barney? It's diabolical.
It's diabolical.
Woo-wee.
Woo-wee. Price, what do you got going on?
At 11:45 p.m., there's the Night Owl on my live stream channel, which is Price of Reason Live. And if you're not subscribed to Price of Reason Live, you should go there right now and subscribe.
He's right. You should do it,
All right.
and then unsubscribe, and then subscribe. Resubscribe again, just to make
Maybe.
sure.
I guess. Andy, what do you got going on? I think you're going to be on Doomcocks tomorrow, right?
I will be on Doomcocks tomorrow as usual. I'll be getting there at 9-ish Eastern, and we will be going over You Only Live Twice for the movie we love, as well as all the other news crap with Daredevil and everything.
Dude,
And,
you only live twice. Nice, good choice.
Yeah, I was just on Scribe's channel the other night. We did a little talk through of some Daredevil and some comic books. That was fun.
Cool. All righty then. So with that, we're going to get on out of here. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I'll see you on the morning show. Bye.
Cute kitty.
Available now for the first time ever on DVD from Midnight's Edge After Dark Productions. It's My Two Dads, the complete first season starring Mexican Iron Man Tom Connors and Culture Casino. Available now for $19.99 while supplies last.